And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gentlemen of Crypto, episode 593. Today is Friday, August 21st, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto every day for the most part, Monday through Friday. I know I missed yesterday running around. A lot of big stories today. IRS plans to ask every American worker if they use crypto in 2020. Uber exec allegedly concealed 2016 hack with $100,000 for a Bitcoin bug bounty payoff. Uber exec denies Bitcoin hush money charges. You don't have to win to become president, candidate Brock Pierce says. And last but not least, Middle Eastern restaurant chain converts entire reserves to Bitcoin. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at these prices. That's right. Super red. That volatility a lot of people ask for and so often seek, at least for our traders. We officially have that back, where we've been had it back, but it is back even greater for some coins today. It looks like Bitcoin is coming in at $11,736, down 1.1%. Ethereum's at $405.86, down 2.74%. Ripple at 28 cent, down 1.9%. And the big one for the volatility today is Chainlink. It's actually crept a little bit back up already, but it's at $13.99, down 13.53%. I know earlier today it dropped to, I think, about $12, so people were freaking out. To be expected, people. This thing literally had a crazy pump from what, like, I don't even know the number. It started at $6 or something, all the way up to $19, $18. So this thing has been steaming now nonstop. It was about time for some pullback on it. But I haven't looked at the project, so I don't know where that price point should even be. So I'm not going to tell you if it still has more to pump or not. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it, like I said. But yeah, I mean, this is either just a healthy retracement. It's going to continue to pump, or those gains are gone on Chainlink, at least for the short term. So let's see what happens, right? Stellar is coming in at 10 cents, down 1.6%. Bitcoin Cash $292, down 0.51%. Neo, I actually want to talk about Neo. Neo's up 17.88, or excuse me, Neo's at $17.88, up 7.47%. I know they had some work done on their platform, and I guess their speeds on their platform are now up times 50, I'm being told. I haven't looked at it, so not sure if that's true, but they're saying that their platform speeds are increasing. If that's true, that price is reflecting that today, which is why Neo is up. And again, everything else we're seeing 1 or 2%. And of course, 0x actually is at 82 cents, up 48.53%. In the last 24 hours. Again, another one, BAT's up 15%. A lot of volatility, people, as you're seeing. Lists. Again, while everything is pumping, while the volatility is up, as I mentioned before a few weeks ago, I know a lot of people got in on it and actually made money. How we talked about Dogecoin, and literally I think it was pumped on TikTok 3 or 4 days later, or a week later. So the same speech, people. Altcoins still right now. For those far out ones, if you have $50, $100, you just want to play with a few of them. Altcoins are a good way to go for some of them because they are starting to get those pump and dumps. They've already been getting those pump and dumps for the last few months. We're going to continue to see altcoin pump and dumps for the next few months. And if Bitcoin actually is in a bull cycle and we see this thing start to pump past that 20K mark, that will be a spot where you can make some of your money back if you feel like you jumped on Bitcoin a little bit too late. Some of these smaller volume and smaller price altcoins, they will be pumped and dumped, people, especially if they have a community around it. So I would suggest going and go look at the Bitcoin forum. When you look at some of those altcoins you're considering, and look at look how many posts have been updated here in the last week, last month, wherever. The ones with more posts, the ones that are really active, the ones of those communities, you better believe they will be pumped at some point in the short term. So that's just a little tip for you to go dumpster dive in for some of those altcoins. But if you do decide to do it, top story of the day, something we may need to consider. IRS plans to ask every American worker, that is right, every American worker, if they use crypto in 2020. I was about to say 2020 and 2020. Before we jump into that, let me say some quick shout outs. What's up? What's going on? Tony Nolly, Will 45, Crypto Culture, Somo Vid, A Kent, Sergeant Crypto, Antonio, hello all. That is right, and one of the most bullish sentiments I think I've seen Yet, this is one of those things we have been waiting for. The IRS plans to ask every American worker if they use crypto in 2020. That is right. Every American filing taxes for 2020 will have to tell the IRS whether they use crypto this year, according to new drafts from the tax agency. So again, this article kind of puts it out there like this is going to happen. Right now, this is what's being drafted up and it's possible. Now, let me remind you, we thought about giving out a digital dollar and a digital wallet for the first pandemic checks, the stimulus checks from the federal government, right? That was drafted up in the bill as well, or that was drafted up in whatever legislation they were passing for that pandemic relief fund that we had. That did not happen, right? If you remember, that was on the second, I think, go round. They tried to have it in there. I think it ended up taking another 3 or 4 drafts before we even accepted that pandemic assistance. So this is just in some of the drafts. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's important to note that the fact that it's in the draft, it made it to the draft, right? That means they're talking about it. This was brought up, whether it was stricken down or whether it was agreed upon, whatever, it is on the floor now. It is up there, right? On August 19th, the IRS released drafts of its income tax forms for 2020, which will ask every American filing income for the year whether or not they use crypto. Early into its very first page, the latest 1040 form asks, quote, at any time during 2020, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, what? or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? Shandon Lodha, founder of crypto tax software firm CoinTracker, told Cointelegraph, the cryptocurrency question is now front and center on the IRS Form 1040 for next year. Pretty clearly shows that the IRS is taking cryptocurrency taxes even more seriously. People, this is crazy, and this is an invasion of privacy if I've ever seen it. First of all, again, to go back to the genesis, this was fake money according to the government. It's not real. It's fairy dust. It's poof. What they say on the Wolf of Wall Street, it's nothing. It's fugazi. It's fugazi. Whatever, right? It doesn't exist. It was supposed to be fake. Then all of a sudden, 2017 happened. They're like, oh shit, you can make real money. They're in fact not even real money. Here's the worst part. You got 17-year-olds making more money than me and have the ability to control my fate. And I'm supposed to be the person in charge. And I'm supposed to work for the government and have all this stuff on lock. This is bad for business. This cannot happen. Regulation, regulation, regulation. Let's make this thing so if you aren't already rich, you can't get rich from it, right? And you're definitely not going to be young getting rich off it. So when you talk about exchanging, why does it matter if you exchange? Why does it matter if you send it, if you acquire it? It's none of your business. Now, the receive, sell, and send, whatever. If you want to be a bootlicker and you want to talk about taxes, I understand that. That's transaction. But just exchange or doing anything with it. They want to have a yes or no to all that. And you better believe as soon as you mark yes, you are officially being tracked. I can go ahead and say early on, I think it's going to be one of those things where to be on the safe side for everyone watching, because I know some people take every word verbally, or excuse me, literally. Some people take every word literally, and semantics are really bad for some people. So I'll say this, to keep a very liberal right away, I would say if you're not making or spending or transacting in 150 to 200,000 at least on the minimum end of crypto, you don't really need to say yes to this question if it's on the sheet. All right. I think some of the most recent stats from tax experts are saying, like, basically, if you're not making at least $500,000 a year, the chances of you even being audited are less than 1% or something like that. It's something crazy. And then after you make like $1 million, your chances of being audited goes to like maybe like 1.2% or 0.08%, something, or 0.8%, excuse me. It's something crazy that's still under the 2% range, even at $1 million or something, right? So I'm making that point to say, before you go crazy, say, oh my God, I had to check this on my IRS form. If you're not at least at that $150,000 mark when it comes to transaction in crypto, not in regular stuff, in crypto, this is just my personal opinion, right? Take it with a grain of salt. I think that it wouldn't be pertinent for you to add it because it would be very hard to track everyone making under $100,000 who did something with crypto. Not only would it be hard to track, you have to remember the IRS. Gang, people, they working with the SEC, the military, the police. This is a gang. People throw that U.S. flag in the air and wave it proudly, okay? I put that because like most gangs, if it ain't about the money, if it's not the business, it's not something personal, you didn't bomb a building, and there's not money involved, we're not interested, right? So if you're making less than $100,000 and you check this box, how much could we really tax you, right? Unless the U.S. taxes, unless the IRS figures out a way to automate taxing people who did something with crypto with under $100,000. Unless they find a way to automate finding these people and taxing you, have all these efficient systems which we know the government does not have. It's going to be very difficult, again, to track someone who, did less than $100,000 of any type of crypto business. Not only is it going to be hard to really track you down, it's going to be even harder and more expensive to say, hey, I want to take you to court or at least subpoena you for something, some information, process all that information, and then come up with a final number to say this is how much you owe the United States government. They're not coming after the small fish just yet. Now, once they have those efficient systems in place, another 3 to 5, maybe 7 to 10 years, and yeah, you can expect if you did anything with any type of crypto, $50 here, $100 here, they might be able to find you. But right now, again, they're just now talking about crypto and tax forms in 2020. People, they are not behind the curve technically because this is still new, but they're behind the curve when you look at things and people just like ourselves, for example, who have been podcasting about crypto for 3 years now. I'm telling you, the government's behind the curve on this. If you're making less than 150 or you're spending less than 150 or doing any of these things, receiving, selling, sending, exchanging, or acquiring virtual currency less than $150,000, I would say this is nothing you need to worry about immediately, right? At least in the short term. But up to you. I'm not telling you not to do it. Hey, if you want to make sure the IRS knows you had your $8 in crypto and then they tell you, well, you owe us $50 back, you go ahead and do that. But here's the draft. Again, I'm glad that this draft actually has it in red at the top. Caution, draft, not for fouling. Again, Cointelegraph, you kind of made an entire story about how this is going to happen. This is a draft. It may not even possibly happen this year. But again, it's important to note because it is on the floor, right? And as we always say, buy the rumor, sell the news. People, if the IRS form comes out next year and the first question on that form is, did you do anything with virtual currency? The price of Bitcoin is about to skyrocket. I'm telling you right now, it will literally happen in a 24-hour period. People will forget, won't wonder why. How did the price just jump up 3,500 or if 16% or whatever the price point and the percentage is going to be, is going to jump as soon as this comes out if it's true. So buy the rumor, sell the news. I would say the good news here is that this is a very bullish sentiment. Whether that price point, whether this comes out next year or not, we know is eventually going to come out, right? The IRS is talking about it, just like they were talking about digital wallets when they were talking about the pandemic relief. We know these things are on the horizon. It's just not now. But my point is, buy the rumors, sell the news. You should be dollar cost averaging right now. You should be buying right now. I will say that even though the price could dip overnight, it could drop down to $7,000 overnight, right? $6,000 overnight, and people be pissed off, lost a lot of money. But when you see things like this, when this actually comes out, when you look at that first tax return and the first question is, did you do anything with virtual currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of those things, check this box. I am telling you that, listen, people, there's no greater buy indicator. The next day that price is going to be off the rails and it'll literally be too late then to start saying, well, I'm gonna go back and buy this and do this. It will be too late. So the way I see it right now, this is the heads up. I think we have until January, February of 2021 to keep buying, to continue buying. And if that's true, it kind of lines up actually with a lot of people's predictions are, with people saying this year is like 2016 or 2017 all over again. It kind of lines up with that price point being at an all-time high around that time next year. So as always, we'll see what happens. But hey, I just want to make sure we point that out here, go in a little bit of detail, because if this happens, hey, that's the moon. I think that's the moon right there. A few comments. Let's see. Anthony Kent, exactly. Why not even ask individuals if they have or receive gold and silver? Because ever since we get, and I'm sure you notice I'm answering this for everyone else, because ever since the United States got off the gold and silver or being backed by gold, we haven't cared about it, right? We officially found a way to circumvent gold and then make people believe that printed fiat money from a private company is actually worth more than gold. So we don't even ask about gold. But now that this digital currency thing is taking over, we got to ask about that. It's crazy. Again, gang is all about money. If you can't make money on it, don't even bother talking about it, right? It's not about right and wrong and protecting citizens. It's about making money. It just is what it is. Amos Sakin said, monetize. That is right, monetize. Will45 said, banks are snitching too many. Oh my, listen, don't get me started. Banks are snitching. USAA, oh my goodness, terrible. And they're supposed to be for the military. Terrible. Oh, they are doing all types of invasive privacy things for the government right now. Bank of America, no, they're doing it. I've heard Wells Fargo aren't any better. We know Chase are too. And they're all doing it because they see that things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are the end of their business. I get why they're doing it, but they all are doing it for sure. What's going on, Bluefig, Wire Sparks, Somovid? Yeah, A. Kent, that was a great point you made as well. Sergeant Crypto said they already have it on the 1040 forums. Noticed it when I filed taxes this year. Oh, man, it's a box on top of the forum. Wow, that's crazy. At Bitcoin, Jake said, taxes? I'm assuming you did it with the Soldier Boy voice, so I'm going to do it like that. Taxes? Exactly. What are we talking about? You can't tax fake money. Antonio said they do that, they would shoot themselves in the foot. You already know it. Bluefig said Norio Rubini and Peter Schiff's heads just exploded. You already know it. What's going on, Tiffany from New York? Listen, I know it sounds terrible when I say the gang thing. People, to give you an example, I remember in college I took a violence, terrorism, and gang, or was it? It was like a violence, terrorism, and I think gang or something class, whatever. Took it my senior year. Got along with the teacher very well. Did my thesis on it. Had a bunch of stuff going on that I did with this project. It was an amazing project. She loved it. But toward the end of the beginning, I said violence, terrorism, and then the last part of the class was the gang thing. So the very cherry on top I put, as I did this whole project, was showed her how the U.S. technically, by our definitions of what gangs are, actually falls into the same category. And her head almost exploded. You should have saw the way she looked at me. She was like, a tear almost fell down her eye. She was like, I thought you were one of the good guys. I'm like, I am. I'm with the home team. But I'm actually, I state facts. I like being, I like being objective, looking at things for what they are. So it made her head explode. And I say that because I know I make some people's heads explode when I see the comments and I say things like this. But if you actually go off the definitions of what these things are and what you need to do to be a part of these things, we fall into a lot of those definitions. So it is what it is. Now I digress. Uber exec allegedly concealed 2016 hack with a $100,000 Bitcoin bug bounty payoff. This story is crazy, people. It looks like a former CSO is accused of trying to conceal Uber's involvement in a 2016 data breach by paying the hackers $100,000 in Bitcoin. Now, one thing for sure, in 2016 and 17, the infamous ransomware attacks were going on, which we talked about the other day. I think at the time, over 100,000 businesses in the U.S. and across the world have been hit. So this, to me, kind of falls in line with it. Not saying it was a ransomware, but to get hacked and then to ask for the money or to be paid in Bitcoin certainly falls along the lines of things that were going along that time. It looks like Joseph Sullivan, a former chief security officer at Uber, allegedly tried to cover up a 2016 hack of sensitive data by funneling a hush money payment of $100,000 in Bitcoin through a bug bounty program. Now that's where the issue is at right there. Now it looks like the hackers have obtained the driver license numbers of roughly 600,000 Uber drivers, as well as private information for roughly 57 million users. That is crazy, people. Now, one thing I will say about this hack, at this point, we have to assume every major company that stores data has been hacked. All right, that's the play. Like, that is the play. These hackers are like bank robbers from back in the day. Just like any bank that have cash in it, you better expect it to get hit. It's the same thing right now. If you have data, if you're storing data, if you're centralizing all your data, if you're keeping it all in one spot, you are going to get hit if you already haven't been hit or if you're already in the process of getting hit. The hack is going to happen, right? So we have to already assume that it's happened to everyone. I say that because at this point, I don't even want to hear about I just want to hear how your hack happened, what was the damage, and what have you done to correct it. That's the only thing I want to hear about hacks from companies, because they all have been hacked. So at this point, I just want every company to come out and say, I know we haven't made any news, but yeah, we've been hacked. This is the damage, and this is what we're doing about it, because it's happening. Now, again, the issue with this was how they paid the hackers through the bug bounty program. According to August 20th announcement from the U.S. Department of Justice, just got real. Sullivan has been charged with obstruction of justice and misprision, I don't even know this word, misprision, I guess, of a felony in connection with a 2016 hack. The former CSO is accused of taking deliberate steps to conceal, deflect, and mislead the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, regarding the data breach and the associated $100,000 Bitcoin hush money payment. The DOJ also accused him of preventing knowledge of the breach from being reported to the FTC by funneling the Bitcoin hush money through a bug bounty program. Ordinarily, such programs are used for legitimate payments to white hat hackers who report on a company's security issues, not those who actually obtain unauthorized data. So, of course, we know that in our space, bug bounty programs are huge. Even though some of these bigger companies are infamous by paying, or some of the bigger companies and projects have been infamous of paying low rates. But yeah, traditionally a bug bounty works as a company will already promote it. We've seen that with a lot of new ICO programs to gain interest and to have people actually start using the programs. They'll say, hey, we have a bug bounty program. Maybe we're offering $1,000 for every bug you find in our code, right? Or in our programs. And people will come back and say, hey, found X, Y, and Z. Mostly security companies will do it, though some private contractors also do it. But people will come back and say, hey, we found X, Y, and Z with your code. We found a backdoor into your website. We found a way to hack you. And the company will say, thank you for finding this. They will patch up and fix it. Here's your few $1,000s or however many dollars we were paying for these bounties. Thank you. Deal's done. In this case, it wasn't one of those white hat hackers, as they call it, even though I don't know why we call it a white hat hacker. There wasn't one of the good guy hackers. It was one of the bad guy hackers who did it. The bad guy hackers, you're supposed to report it to the FTC. You're supposed, I guess, from what the FTC are saying, I'm assuming call the authorities and have them do investigations and have them handle it, right? But instead, Uber basically said, no, we're going to package this up with the hackers. We're going to say that it was a bug bounty that we had going out and that they found it for us, and we're going to pay them the same way we would do a normal hacker. Now, the issues of that, of course, and I get where the FTC is coming from. I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section as well. Should this be a government issue where a company this big, 57 million people get hacked? Should they have to tell the government? Should they have to tell the FTC? Should they have to go through the authorities? Or should they be allowed to say, no, we handled it in-house, we had our money, and we fixed it? Now, of course, I get from the government perspective, it's just not all about money, protecting consumers. Yes, if you do this in-house, then you have the ability to hide the hack and not tell people. And you run the risk of the hackers actually being who they are, real criminals, and doing dirty stuff with the data after you pay them anyway, which more than less likely will happen anyway, because that's what criminals do. They're going to criminal, right? They're not going to all of a sudden do the right thing for you because you paid them one payment. No, why get $100,000 when you get $200,000 if you're a criminal, right? So I do get where the government's going. So again, slippery slope. It's unfortunate. It looks like here the U.S. Attorney David Anderson said, we would not tolerate illegal hush money payments. Silicon Valley is not the Wild West. Now we know that to be untrue. Silicon Valley and banking at a certain level is the Wild West. If you have enough money, you can do kind of what you want. Chase and that cocaine-filled shipment. Never heard of that again, right? But I do get where the U.S. Attorney David Anderson is coming from. The agency again also alleges Sullivan tried to conceal the company's involvement in the breach by asking the hackers to sign non-disclosure agreements, falsely stating they had not obtained any personal data from Uber, even while they were anonymous. When the investigation amassed two of the individuals responsible for the breach, the Department of Justice alleges Sullivan still asked for the hackers to sign NDAs rather than report them. Again, I'm not mad at Sullivan. He's trying to protect the brand, right? The NFL does this type of stuff all the time. It's called protecting the shield, right? You want to protect the main thing that's making everybody money. And I understand. Think about, as much as some people hate Uber, I'm actually, I actually support Uber, but as much as a lot of people hate Uber, if Uber goes out of business, a lot of people are losing jobs. Everybody's complaining about them hiring them as contractors, not paying them the rates they want, or people arguing as users. Whoever's arguing and complaining about Uber, if Uber goes away, there will be a lot of inconvenience to a lot of people. So I get Sullivan trying to protect the brand, right? Now another article came out right after this. Uber exec denies Bitcoin hush money. It looks like a spokesperson came out for Sullivan and Uber and said there is no merit to these allegations against former Uber chief security officer Joseph Sullivan. Interesting that this is the former one, but who is now facing charges of obstruction of justice. And I still don't know this word or what it is. And I went to school for this, but misprision of a felony. So I don't know. But again, this is what's going on over at Uber, Department of Justice. I think the biggest thing too that has to do with this is you out here paying money in Bitcoin. You out here paying these fees in Bitcoin. Oh, you know the government not playing that. We're not going that direction with it. But regardless of what happens, as always, I know it's going to be more coming from this story because this is one of those things where I think the government is going to want to set precedent as far as, hey, if you got hackers, if you got people coming after you, we want to know them, because I think they're trying to kind of put them in a database, keep track of them, which makes sense. But yeah, they're not having that. Let's check out some of these comments here. Rashu said, oh, so you want them smart? Yeah, I got you. Leroy Forbes, blessings everyone. A. Kent, from the government's perspective, if the company is managing or handling financial transactions via credit card, then yes, they are obligated, and given the fact that they are a public company. Ah, that's true. They are a public company. Hey, when you go public, all those backdoor deals, that goes out the window. Hey, we want to know everything, right? Timothy Grigsby, same thing. Publicly traded companies should report stuff like this. There we go. I'm in agreement with you. Hey, Ken, I suspect that the CSO was a part of the hacking crew, at least the boss's information, as he was about to exit the company anyway. That's why I said that he was, that they said the old CSO. It was interesting that he doesn't have the job anymore. Yes, something's afoul. Whether it's from the government point of view, they got rid of him, or whether it was actually from the hack. Regardless, something was afoul. It was probably from the hack in general, whether he was involved in it or not involved. One of my favorite lines from Casino, Sam Ace Ralston, you're either in on it or you're incompetent. Either way, you got to go, right? So he was either in on it or he was too incompetent to see it happening. Either way, got to go. What's going on? Ryan Cooper, Coop DeVille. Tony Nolly said they should have to report the data breaches that compromise consumer info, just so we know. Appreciate that, Timothy Grigsby. I truly appreciate that. Listen, people always say I think I have to be right. It's like, no, I just like having the factual and the correct thing so I can say it. I say that because Timothy in the comments pronunciated and gave the definition of this word for me. This is what I needed. Prison. Is it prison or prison? Deliberate concealment of one's knowledge of a treasonable act or a felony. Thanks again, Timothy. I appreciate that. Listen, I am not above learning a new word live, people. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Ryan Cooper said, haha, no golden parachute, huh? He made his own. Hilarious. He did make his own golden parachute. All right, last couple of stories, but definitely not the least. Want to touch on this one as we interviewed him, Brock Pierce. Listen, behind the scenes when he was talking about he was going to run for president, I was just like, it's kind of late. He can't really win. It's like, what's the move here? What's the play? Like, what's his play to make this work? Because it is late in the game, right? I didn't see it happening. I wasn't going to bash him because I'm like, hey, you got a pocket full of money, you got a chance, right? Like, I'm all for the show. I want to see what happens. Well, it looks like he does actually have a genius plan, which, again, far-fetched, pretty tough to accomplish, but it is possible. And if he does accomplish it, it will be very interesting to see what happens with the presidential election. You don't have to win to become president. Candidate Brock Pierce is saying that again. Crypto venture capitalist Brock Pierce, we had on our show a few weeks ago for his interview when he's talking about running for president. He's saying that he doesn't think he'll win the 2020 election. So no new news. We weren't going crazy or being mean for talking about that or wondering that ourselves, right? He doesn't think he'll win the 2020 election, but he has revealed how he plans to end up in the White House anyway. The presidential candidate told Cointelegraph, he said one of his main campaign strategies was to ensure that neither the Republican nor Democrat parties wins a majority in 2020 by gaming the electoral college system. Quote, if a third party such as myself were to win a single state, it becomes possible that no one wins the election. If a third party, such as, again, ourselves, were to win 3 states, it becomes likely that no one wins the election. So I'm not trying to win the election. I'm trying to win 3 states so that no one wins the election. Again, what he's talking about is under U.S. law, a presidential candidate must win at least 270 out of 538 electoral votes to be elected, not a majority of the popular vote, which most people still seem to believe, even though I clearly remember going over this. I think everyone in 11th, 12th grade of high school in the United States go over this process about the electoral college and not the popular vote, but less populated states like Wyoming carry 3 votes, while bigger ones like California carry 55 votes. A candidate can carry an entire state in its electoral votes by winning the most votes in that state. The system explains how Donald Trump was able to win the 2016 election with 304 electoral votes, despite receiving roughly 3 million fewer votes overall than Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. Again, that was a popular vote count, and also, if I remember, that was the votes they counted when people were walking out of the door, not the actual ballots themselves. So for people who've had questions about that, that helps to answer it. They were going off the electoral vote, and also some of those votes were people walking out the door, not the actual ballots. The ones that had Hillary up. Again, I don't care either way, Hillary or Trump. I think my life would have been pretty much the same as it is regardless. So maybe we would have a little bit more pandemic money, right? Who knows? But again, so from Pierce's point of view, he's saying you don't have to win to become president. I'm running with the strategy to end up in the White House in January. His hope is that if neither major party candidate were to get a majority of the electoral votes, state delegations in the House of Representatives will vote on the 3 presidential candidates with the most electoral votes, meaning if the strategy is effective, Pierce, Trump, and Biden. So again, he's just hoping to use this method to get an election. Again, this is the NGN's method. I think it would be cool to see this happen, and not just because just for the fact to shake it up, right? I'm seeing all the memes and everything out there. Again, I don't want to get political, but people don't seem to be content with either candidate for some people, or some people hate the other candidate, right? So no one's just flat out content. And then there's been this 2-party system my entire life. So I would love to see this happen in 2020. I mean, hell, everything else is happening this year, right? Let's get the 3-party vote to see what happens next. But with all that being said, to bring it back down to earth and be more realistic, I don't think this is going to work. It's unfortunate, but the realistic and the reason why I don't think it's going to work is kind of what I've been saying at the top of the show. I don't say things just say on people, they kind of build together. This is my segue into it. I kept saying gang in the United States and all that stuff for a reason. Corruption is real. Corruption is real. Not just real in the United States, it's real everywhere, right? Corruption is real. And the reason why I say that is you have to be out of your damn mind, Brock, if you think an incumbent president who's a billionaire who has a bunch of people on his side, and Biden, who has a Democratic Party and whatever madness they have going on and all their money on his side, they're all of a sudden going to play fair with Brock Pierce and say, oh, you gamed the system, you got the electoral votes of California. I guess we're going to bring it to the House and we're going to vote on us 3. Not saying it's impossible, very improbable. I don't see it happening, even though it could happen. I think as a country, it is what it is. We're a little far too corrupt for that to happen. Again, we're a capitalist country. I think corruption and capitalism go together. It's hand in hand, unfortunately, people, because people are so business minded. They're looking at the bottom dollar, and you better believe when you talk about billionaires who are backing presidents are looking at the bottom dollar, what this could do for their taxes, what they could do for their operations as far as opening new places in different cities and regions. All that stuff has to do with money. If you think all these people tied in, water running deep the last 30, 40 years, friends with friends of friends, are going to suddenly let a third party in by way of electoral votes, I don't see it happening. But good luck. I mean, I would love to see it happen. I would support it. But realistically, I just think that's, hey, I think we're getting a little too happy on it. But we'll see, right? You never know, people. 2020 has been a year. You couldn't have guessed any of this. You never know. You never know. Jake Lee said, LOL, Brock was wild. Y'all had him on. Keep up the great content. Yeah, thanks. Ryan Cooper said, Brock Pierce and Kanye for president. LOL, Team Bitcoin. There we go. Let's see. Will 45 said, is Trump and Donald still boys, or did that fall through? I'm confused on that one, Will. Trump and Kanye. It's Trump and Kanye. Oh, I don't know, man. Listen, I honestly, people, I'm telling you, I don't keep it. Once I realize what politicians and regulators really like their jobs and what you got to remember, I keep telling you they work for the American people. Sometimes it's not for all the American people, but they do work for them. So once you kind of figure that out, to me, I kind of pay less attention to them. I just pay more attention to if my money's going towards something that a regulator politician is supposed to be doing for me or something, or people, group of people I believe in. I'll pay attention to that and make sure I'm pushing the line on that one. Like, oh, we gave you money already. We want this done. But as far as just looking at all of them and paying attention to every move and who's friends with who, I couldn't tell you. Tiffany from New York said, what's the point in doing this? You know what? I think the point is, because he did come on, he did talk about the youth. and on alternatives of the two-party system. So I think the point is just to shake up the election, right? He has the money, he has the time. Show the world and show the youth that we do not have to go by this two-party system. There are loopholes in there, because I didn't know about this loophole, right, until I read this article myself and did some of my own research. So again, I think that may be the reasons why he's doing it. Maybe not to win, maybe not even get in the White House, but just to plant that seed in other people like, hey, I know it's hard to get around the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Here's one way to do it. So maybe he's not doing this for himself. He's doing it for the person who can actually win one or two states in an electoral vote. Maybe he's doing it for that person. I can't speak for him, but that's my guess. Sergeant CrYPto said this could be the icing on the cake for 2020. Listen, if this happened, this would definitely be the icing on the cake for 2020. Will 45 says some people think Kanye is trying to help Trump by running. No, I get that, by dividing the black vote or whatever. Listen, people, the bottom line, if you still, like, I don't know, in my point of view, if you're still voting for this two-party system anyway, come on. Has it worked yet? Like, literally, not even for you. Has it worked for your parents? Has it worked for your grandparents? Tell me who it's worked for in your life or in your family's life, and I'll get to listening. Until then, if you're still voting in this two-party system anyway, yeah, you're helping the government by running. You're helping them by running, period. Let's see. 2020, Ryan Cooper said the year anything can happen, and yes, anything is happening. Let's see. Ahmad Sakin said blue and just two wings on the same. Oh yeah. Basically, blue and red are just two things on the same bird. Nothing changes but the color. That's my point, people. The whole point about government, especially federal government, if you really study politics and government since the inception of the United States and some of the fights that's been going on since the inception of the United States, it's about building government, federal government bigger, and states, of course, are trying to build their states bigger. One of the reasons we had the Civil War, right? Of course, it was about slavery and all that, but it was also about states' rights. They were trying to secede from the Union. It's about federal government getting bigger. So regardless of who you vote for, at the end of the day, if they leave that office, they need to make sure they check the box of federal government getting bigger. And every president has done that. They continue to increase the powers of the federal government. I don't care if you vote blue or red. That is what they do. So I find a lot of issues with that already, because I feel like as a strong individual, you can do a lot of things on your own. You don't need the government and nanny parents to tell you what to do. But for those who do need it, I do understand it. Other than that, last but not least, to end on a great note, Middle Eastern restaurant chain converts entire reserves to Bitcoin. That's what I'm talking about. And you know what? Again, a great segue just from talking about the government. When you hear the reasoning why, oh my goodness. The Middle Eastern restaurant, whose 3 locations across Ontario, announced it will be switching its cash reserves to crypto. That is right. Go ahead and get us a little good Bitcoin in the burger picture. A Canada-based Middle Eastern restaurant chain just converted their entire fiat cash reserves into Bitcoin. According to an August 19 tweet from Tahani's, the best Middle Eastern restaurant in the world, the decision to switch its cash reserves to crypto had its genesis in March's crash. And when the Canadian government began to provide assistance programs for businesses unable to stay open due to the pandemic. With the United States and Canada printing money to prop up their ailing economies, Tahani's owner Omar Haman started to see the financial system, quote, as a game of musical chairs being played out right now, and the music will stop and some people will get left out. He said he was concerned that the handouts and the money printing would devalue the fiat currency. He's being quoted out saying it was apparent to us that the cash didn't have the same appeal, and that eventually with all the excess cash circling the economy, that cash would be worth less. Quote, as time went on, I was constantly trying to learn and grow my knowledge about finance. I heard people in the Bitcoin community saying you have to hear about Bitcoin at least 7 times before you get into it. He said that was 100% correct. Again, he decided to convert the company's cash savings into Bitcoin because, quote, it offers a much better alternative to saving cash, and he would continue to use Bitcoin as a reserve asset, maybe forever, if we don't have a need for fiat. So, of course, he's also accepting Bitcoin there. And this is something Bitcoin Zay wrote about in his book, people. Just literally by accepting Bitcoin or by switching it over to a reserve asset. Not saying you have to go a full 100%, all my cash reserves are Bitcoin. You can do 5%, 10%, 2%, 30%, 50%, right? But by doing that, you're securing your business. And I agree with this person. If you're building a restaurant chain, if you have a chain of restaurants, and you really don't know what's going to happen with fiat currency, especially when the government all of a sudden is starting to print more. After what happened in 2008, I would also put some of my money in the Bitcoin, in a Bitcoin reserve, especially when you also seen that. I think a story came out the other day where it said like 98% of all Bitcoin addresses are in the positive, right? Like 98% of addresses who have ever bought Bitcoin have made money. I'm assuming that 2% is coming from the end of 2017 and on. I understand that, right? But they're saying a lot of these addresses, or at least at the time of the writing, that put it as well. But they're saying a lot of these addresses are in the positive. So, and we've also talked about how if you've invested in Bitcoin since day one, you're still in the positive, right? So it makes sense to use this as a reserve. And I think, again, this will be a test to see if it works. If it does work for this restaurant, you better believe they're going to tell other people in the industry about it. And we may see more places like restaurant chains and other business chains start to keep everything in the Bitcoin cash reserve. So pretty cool to see. Shout out to our Habibi, Canada-based Middle Eastern restaurant Tahani's. And hopefully they continue to do well, and we hear more about them in that cash reserve or the Bitcoin reserves they're actually using. Last couple of quick comments. Let's see. Ryan Cooper said nice, and he's bringing crypto to the mainstream all over again. Talking about Brock. Bitcoin Jake said Maccabee 2020. Hey, listen, Maccabee still need to. He got some explaining to do. No. Right, Maccabee like, man, I'm out here. I'm a businessman. I'm doing business. He really is. Let's see. Rashu, exactly. Didn't we all? Rashu said he grew up with Bloods and Crips. I'm assuming he's talking about the Democrats and the Republicans. Ryan Cooper said, I read all about this yesterday. He's willing to risk it all. Mediterranean restaurant. Nice. Ryan Cooper said, concerned printing this much money in so little time definitely devalues the US dollar. To be clear, after I go off my tangents, Ryan, I had to reel it in sometimes, so I say things like concerned or possibly or maybe, just to show people that might be in the middle of the road. But yes, general business sense should tell everyone, even though it doesn't. We all know this. But yeah, if you keep printing something, it's going to devalue whatever it is you're printing. But most people will argue you to the grave about how that's not true, man, how the economy can fix it and everything else, right? So whatever. Wire Sparks said businesses are waking up, at least the smart ones. That is true. And last comment but not least, Ryan Cooper said Maccabee better eat that meat. And on that note, people, have a great week. Of course, we'll be looking at the crypto price over the weekend. I was like, what am I about to say? Looking at the crypto price over the weekend, we'll see what happens. Again, I think in September 1st is the next big bench point for us to see what happens. Will these checks come out? Are these checks not going to come out? Again, those checks don't come out. That'll be another 2 weeks. That'll be almost a full, month? Yeah, it'll be over a month. I'm about 4 to 5 weeks of no federal assistance to go along with people's unemployment for those who are on it. So it'll be very interesting to see. Other than that, people, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like and share. And I will see you all Monday with some more crypto news. And we're actually planning an interview. I think we're going to try to have it on August 25th. That's the game plan with Eric Voorhees' father, actually, Jackie Voorhees. He has an app as well. He has some new things he's creating in the space, and we're going to try to have him on and talk more about it. So interviews coming next week. Some more good stuff as always. Make sure you watch out. Cheers. Have a good one.